Imagine watching a movie where you know exactly what happens next. That's what your music can feel like when your workflow is too predictable. Same process, same sounds, same results. Not bad, just expected. So what if the problem isn't your skill, but the fact that nothing in your process can surprise you? In this episode, we're going to break that pattern and introduce controlled chaos into the way that you create.
You're listening to the Lofi Music Academy podcast, your go-to space for all things lo-fi. Sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of lo-fi music production.
Hi, and welcome to the Lofi Music Academy podcast. I'm Spencer J, your guide through the chilled out, atmospheric world of lo-fi beats. If you're new here, this is where we like to talk about lo-fi music, beat making, creativity, and the real mindset behind finishing music and building something sustainable as a producer. Today we're talking about something that might completely change the way you make music, especially if you're the kind of producer who overthinks every sound, every note, every decision in your DAW. The topic today is the happy accident production method, or what I like to call the art of intentional unpredictability. Because here's the truth, some of the best lo-fi tracks ever made didn't come from perfect planning. They came from accidents, from wrong notes, from plugins glitching, from recordings that weren't supposed to be used. And instead of deleting those moments, the producer kept them. Lo-fi as a genre is almost built on this idea: tape noise, vinyl crackle, detuned keys, imperfect timing. These aren't mistakes anymore, they're character. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how to actually design your workflow so accidents can happen on purpose. Not random chaos, but controlled unpredictability. We'll go through practical methods you can try today, including random automation, sampling unexpected sounds, and using generative tools, and even learning from famous mistakes in music history. And if you really understand this mindset, you'll never get stuck staring at an empty project again. Because instead of asking, what should I make? You'll start asking, what happens if I try this? And that question is where the magic starts. Lo-fi music has always had a strange relationship with imperfection. In most genres, mistakes are something you fix. In lo-fi, mistakes are often the thing that makes the track feel human. Think about the sounds we associate with the genre: warped tape, vinyl crackle, background noise, detuned instruments, loose timing and slightly off-key chords. If you made those sounds in a pop production, you'd probably clean them up. But in lo-fi, those details make the track feel alive, and that's because lo-fi isn't really about technical perfection. It's about vibe. It's about feeling like the track exists in a real space, like it was recorded somewhere, not generated in a perfectly clean digital environment. And this is why happy accidents work so well in lo-fi production. Because when something unexpected happens, it often sounds more natural than something that you planned. Your brain can't always design the kind of randomness that real life creates. That's why the intentional unpredictability method works. You stop trying to control every detail, and instead you create situations where interesting things can happen. Not hoping for accidents, but making space for them. And once you start working like this, producing becomes a lot more fun, less pressure, less perfectionism, and more discovery. One of the easiest ways to create happy accidents is with random effects automation. Instead of carefully dialing in every setting, you let a plugin move in ways you didn't plan, and then you keep the best parts. Here's a simple method that you can try. Put a sound into your project. It could be a piano loop, a pad, a guitar, anything. And now add a few effects, maybe a delay, a filter, a chorus, some saturation. And then instead of setting them perfectly, start automating them randomly. Move the cutoff around, change the feedback, turn the mix up and down. Switch presets while the track is playing. Don't try to make it sound good, just let it run, record the output or bounce the track, and listen back later. You'll probably hear moments where something unexpected happens, a weird echo, a glitch, a texture you would never have designed on purpose. And that's the moment you keep. You chop that section out, loop it and build something around it. This method works because your brain stops trying to be perfect. You're not composing anymore, you're discovering. And discovery is where a lot of great lo-fi sounds come from. Another powerful way to use the happy accident method is by sampling things without knowing what you're going to use them for. Most producers only record sounds when they have a specific idea. They think, I need a texture, so I'll record something. But the happy accident method flips that around. You record first and figure out the use later. This could be anything: the sound of rain on a window, a fan running in the background, street noise, your keyboard clicking, a cup hitting a table, paper moving, a door closing. At the time it might seem useless, but when you bring those sounds into your DAW and start processing them, they can turn into textures, percussion, transitions or atmosphere. And because you didn't plan them, they don't sound generic. They sound like your environment. And a lot of lo-fi producers who have a really unique sound aren't using secret plugins. They're using recordings from their own life. And those recordings are impossible for anyone else to copy exactly. That's the power of sampling the unexpected. You're not just making music, you're capturing moments and turning them into sound. Now let's talk about something that a lot of producers avoid, but it can be incredibly powerful, and that's using chaos as a composition tool. This means letting something generate ideas for you instead of trying to write everything yourself. You can do this with generative MIDI tools, random arpeggiators, experimental sequencers, or even just by rolling the dice with notes in the piano roll. Instead of thinking, what chord should I write next? You let the system create something and then you react to it. Sometimes it sounds terrible, sometimes it sounds strange. But every now and again you hear something you never would have thought of. And that's the point. Your brain has habits. You always reach for the same chords, the same rhythms, the same sounds. Chaos breaks those habits. It pushes you into new territory without having to force it. A great exercise is to generate a random melody, then try to make a lo-fi track around it. Not changing the melody too much, just working with what you've got. It feels a bit uncomfortable at first, but it does train your creativity in different ways. Instead of controlling everything, you'll learn how to respond, and that skill is huge for developing your own style. Happy accidents aren't just a lo-fi thing. Some of the most iconic sounds in music history came from mistakes. Distorted guitar, for example, wasn't originally planned. Early recordings had broken equipment, damaged speakers, overloaded inputs, and instead of throwing the take away, producers kept it. That eventually became part of rock music. Feedback is another example. What started as unwanted noise became something artists use on purpose. Even tape saturation, the warm sound everyone loves, it came from pushing analog gear too hard. And the interesting thing is, at the time, those sounds were considered wrong. They only became good after someone decided they liked them. And lo-fi production works exactly the same way. A sound that feels wrong at first might be the thing that makes your track different from everyone else's. If you delete every mistake, you also delete every chance to discover something new. So part of the happy accident method is learning to pause before you hit undo. Listen first, you might be about to erase the best sound in your track. To really use this method, you need a different mindset when you sit down to produce. Instead of asking, how do I make this perfect? You start asking, what if I try this? What if I automate everything? What if I record the output? What if I sample something randomly? What if I use the wrong tempo? What if I put distortion on the piano? And what if I reverse the whole track? Most of these ideas won't work, and that's normal. The goal isn't to be right every time. The goal is to create enough experiments that something interesting happens. When you work like this, you stop feeling stuck because you don't need inspiration anymore. You just need curiosity. And curiosity is a lot easier to find than motivation. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts for producers who struggle with perfectionism. You're not trying to prove you're good. You're just exploring, and exploration always leads somewhere. So here's the big idea from this episode. Happy accidents don't only happen by luck. You can design your workflow so they happen more often. Use random automation. Record sounds without a plan. Let plugins run wild. Try generative tools. Keep the weird takes. And listen before you delete. And most importantly, give yourself permission to make things that don't sound right at first. Because the sound you think is wrong today might be the sound people recognise as your style later. That's how a lot of great lo-fi producers develop their identity. Not by copying what works, but by keeping the moments that weren't supposed to work. So the next time you open your door, try this. Don't start with a perfect idea. Start with an experiment. Press record, turn knobs, break things, layer sounds that don't make sense, and then listen back. Somewhere in that chaos, there might be the exact sound that you've been looking for. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing it with fellow music producers who might find it useful. Until next time, keep creating, stay inspired, and remember, it's all about the vibe. Take care and see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the Lofi Music Academy podcast. If you're ready to start making lo-fi music and want to go even deeper, grab your free guide. Discover the 6 essential steps to create a release-ready lo-fi track from scratch. Whether you're using budget gear in your bedroom or a small home studio, this guide will help you get that polished, dreamy lo-fi sound you're after. Just go to www.lofimusicacademy.com. Until next time, keep creating those laid-back vibes, and don't forget to subscribe for more lo-fi tips and tricks.